flood again.
And
80 billion should be ensuring you're not flooding. Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Before we get into it, because there's quite some to discuss and see what direction that we've come from an hour where we are talking about the fact that we have to be very, very clear as citizens have to be very, very clear about where they are in terms of selecting leadership, because that leadership bears a responsibility for some of the things that we see later. But we'll get into that. Dennis has today's proverb from Mauritius.
Yes, beautiful country. 1.2 million people is the population. You think about what it is they do, because it's an island country rather, beautiful beaches, a lot of fish in there to enjoy, but they're also huge on manufacturing and agriculture as well, that continues to propel then what would be the economy. But the proverb we get from this beautiful country: the peacock spends its life displaying its feathers, but the eagle needs no decoration to prove it can fly above the cloud. How would you interpret it?
You see, those who are great don't talk about it.
Okay.
If you keep here boasting and a lot of explanations, you just wait for the action. The eagle just acts with precision.
Yeah.
Hands with precision, hands snakes, hands, dangerous things, and feeds its family. But when it comes to the peacock, it can only boast.
I'm pretty. Well said, well interpreted. Yeah.
Indeed. We're looking at the cost of political violence, and right now we're in the throes of this conversation for things that happened, months ago, weeks ago, days ago. What is the cost of political violence from where you sit?
Very expensive. And what politicians and the Kenyans should know is that a criminal liability does not expire. So if you are involved in a criminal activity, when you are at the height of power and you are protected, and the DPP uses discretion and doesn't prosecute you, a day will come when you must pay for your sins. And I'm just saying, like, when politicians incite or sponsor violence, like what you saw in Kisumu and Senator Osotsi, that's a criminal activity. One day will be brought to book. What you have seen in Homa Bay when Linda Mwananchi was visiting, people who one time worked together. Sifuna, former Secretary General of ODM, Babu, member of ODM, Orengo, member of ODM, and all that team. And now ODM fighting its own. Then there are 5 deaths and 1 policeman. That is murder. And the evidence can be traced. Whoever paid money can be traced. In fact, goons have no loyalty. If one of them gets into trouble, if 1 or 2 gets arrested, they tell the whole story. And then they provide the evidence. So you, Mr. Politician and Madam Politician, when they do that, they'll not go to the gallows alone. They'll go with you.
Yeah.
And then there will be public pressure, public demand that you be prosecuted. And eventually you will be prosecuted for murder.
You see, every other time we hear statements like Kenya is greater than any individual person. But what we're seeing seemingly is my position, my elective position is seemingly greater than the country. Does that make sense?
I've had a lot of sweet talk of late, and then very bitter results. I've heard P.S. Omolo say every politician will tour any part of the country peacefully. Then after he issues his statement, Sifuna goes to South Nyanza and is attacked where the PS comes from. The PS has enough system. And unfortunately, even, a police van is burned down, 7 vehicles belonging to people. These people will never get back their vehicles if the insurance is not one for political violence.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that sort of loss to individuals. Somebody's hotel is attacked, maybe because they are perceived to be bearing, supporting one side of, or expressing their freedom, to choose to express themselves. So when this comes from such a politician or a government officer, and then it is the opposite, and is the one who bears that responsibility. Even putting the police in a very difficult situation, because the police can get overwhelmed. The people are very powerful. You saw them come to parliament and overrun parliament. They can overrun anywhere. So I think law and order should be respected, and when it is funded at such a high level, I can assure you, these goons you have seen in the newspapers, their faces are clear, they are known, because the government has every information of everybody, but it is the same government officials who will be hiding them in Uganda or locally. Or any of the neighboring countries. And therefore, that's why we are saying it is very, very important that when you talk, you mean it. Because the moment a life is lost, there's a family which is mourning, and they'll want justice, even if not today, one day. I believe even for Albert Ojwang, justice has not yet happened. Even if there are some people who will be prosecuted, you could be prosecuting the wrong people. Most probably, if there's no proper evidence, this will end up in acquittals. So it means at some point, when the climate may not be favorable to such government people, then the truth will happen, because people will not let this go. And therefore, I think it is important when they say it, they mean it, and protect the country, and accept that you can go into an election and lose an election and still live in Kenya and live happily. But I've heard some politicians say, if I lose this election, I'll commit suicide. If I lose this election, before I lose the election, I'd rather murder my opponent. You know, the kind of talk going on now is what was happening in Rwanda before the genocide. The kind of talk going now is beyond prosecuting people locally. And therefore, all this is being documented. Even if some people say that The Hague has been weakened, the International Criminal Court is no longer have teeth and cannot bite, I think they are wrong. What we have seen is poor protection of witnesses, witnesses getting threatened that they abandon that cause. And I believe one day all these things will be done. When one is in power, I think the first duty they have is to protect life, not to destroy life. You can allow Sifuna to get into any country, any part of the country, do his thing, and leave, and without even a single person being injured. I have seen that happen when we used to go to the Raila rallies. We'll go through, when Simba Arati was a member of parliament here in Nairobi, we'll go through his constituency on a huge lorry. People are selling their wares. Nothing is stolen. Everybody is happy. And this is the opposition, and there's a government in power. And the whole day, the day begins well and ends well. But you don't have that today. You get chaos. You get police working with goons. You get a church getting attacked. I mean, somebody sits down and plans to go and attack a sanctuary. I think they must know also there's a God who protects his own sanctuaries, because that is an attack on God. So I think this is not going to get far. And people are watching. And I believe if they think that is what is going to give them votes, I'm sure they're going to be sorry. That attacking a church cannot give you votes. It leaves you worse, even if you pretend that you can sweet talk and pretend that everything is all right when it is not all right.
Why do politicians employ this mode of politics?
First of all, they are scared of losing. And they want to threaten and scare their opponents. Goons always were there. They begin as supporters, then they go to a not higher. They decide you will not talk, you will heckle you, and then everybody has their side of supporters, and then the supporters clash. And then somebody's child dies. Somebody who left innocently in the morning to attend to their usual business. They end up with their car burned down. They end up with injuries. They end up in a hospital. Or you end up with funerals like we're going to have now in Homa Bay. Courtesy of leaders who would have stopped it. And I just want to say that it's not enough to go to NCIC. If Kagusha was prosecuted, then Kaluma and Wanga should also be prosecuted for worse crimes. Because what Kagusha had done amounted to, when we first went to DCI, they were thinking of the Election Act. Then I brought to the attention of the investigators at the DPP that the election period has not yet been cleared, so the Election Act could not apply. So they went into a different law and charged Kagusha with some very small misdemeanor. Now, in the case of Kaluma and Wanga, or there was even a man in Kisumu, one of the Luo elders, who was saying similar things like Kagusha. Of course, by his age, is excusable. Mm-hmm. He said, if you are not going to vote for Huda and where the community is supporting, we are going to curse you. That's an equivalent threat to a voter. It's a very serious threat. Nobody likes curses. And from an elder, it can fly. Mm-hmm. But nothing was done to him. Really, there's double standard. Nothing is happening. Calling Kaluma and Wanga for NCIC, we are not undermining NCIC. Actually, NCIC has its role. First of all, its first duty is to build, bring people together, bring peace, and possible, reconcile the parties. You have a public apology, and then you are let to go. But when people are dead, you have gone beyond what NCIC can do.
But where you sit, Senator, we talk about Kagusha, and he belongs to a formation where you're in. And what he said, whether it's a misdemeanor or not, must be called out, because what he said is wrong,
I'm saying it should be called out.
And you look at the other political formation as well, what they're spewing as well, is a concern. And one asks the question then, in these political formations that we have, why is it that hate is being spewed from whichever side? And as an insider then in the United Opposition, what are some of the frameworks now? Because you've been affected directly through Kagusha's statements. What frameworks are we putting in place to ensure that we are not seen to be perpetrators of violence and hate? I
want to say that that's why NCIC comes in. Kagusha should have reported to NCIC, explained himself, and apologized to the country. Mm-hmm. But when you want to prosecute him, fair enough. When you want to hold him in some media house, fair enough. But if you look at the documents to prosecute him, mm-hmm. they will not build that cohesion because you've got some recordings done by a third party which have to be certified, and then the much you could do is still give a public apology, even in court, if he's found to be guilty or he can explain himself. But now when people get incited like that and somebody dies or somebody is injured, I think it should be stopped. Mm-hmm. I think that's so much impunity, like what we saw with the South Sea. That was impunity in front of cameras, in front of people, without fear of consequence. I think when a nation walks that, there is a reason to be concerned.
But Senator, do political formations bear responsibility in ensuring that those within their formations are not seen to be spewing hate? Because today, as we speak, many are saying there is no difference from either side. So are there frameworks within these formations to just ensure that people we have do not portray us negatively, that will play politics of peace, politics of agenda?
You saw that the Mount Angeles team, which is led by NCIC and IBC, because this is being done for politics and by politicians. One of the things which should happen and can bite enough and will send sense to politicians, if you are barred from participating in election. Okay. If Kaluma and Wanga are barred from participating in the next election, for example, they'll find it too punishy for them. And if it happens to any other politician, so that once you are shortlisted, you cannot be allowed to participate in the election, because political parties sign a code of conduct. And the political parties are the ones which should caution its best candidates so that they don't end up being barred from participating in an election. and building their career in politics. And I think that should be strengthened. But as you have heard in your promotion here, by Millie Odhiambo, if you don't have goodwill from the top, it is a waste of time. Be it corruption, be it violence, be it if you just have some cheap talk from the top, a talk you don't mean, a talk you don't implement, then we've got a very serious problem. It must begin from top, whether the president is going to go back or not. And from intelligence reports and many other things, the president will know when things are not good. And that's why that statement of the nation is bigger than an individual should now come out, and mean it. And make sure that no violence goes. But now violence has gone in for some time in the country, from the handling of demonstrators, with the government now admitted liability and agreed to compensate. They left out the abductees, the Bob Jaggies, and Bernard Kavule, the journalist, and then they are abandoned. So we went to the High Court, and the High Court ordered, set some money aside, even assessed the damage, and compensate also the abductees. But you can see the systematic nature of unfairness, failing to follow the Constitution. We have got enough laws. You don't need to keep on amending them anymore. We've got enough laws. They just need to be implemented.
Okay.
There is the question about why continuing to employ a certain mode of politics that does not work. When this violence that we see happens, does it mean that somebody then has gone further in the race politically? When people die, like you said, there will be funerals in Homa Bay. There will be people who will be in hospital. There will be people who have to look for money for treatment that they had not planned for. They don't have a source to be able to get. Does it score points? Does it really make people afraid? Because what it seems to do to me is that it makes anybody who wants to make sure such things don't happen, that they become unabowed in their resolve to see change. So it seems counterintuitive to employ violence to suppress the voice of anybody.
Unfortunately, it's happening with the blessings of the government. Alberto Joang happened. It was downplayed. There was no compensation as such from the government. I will explain that it is usually like a threat.
Okay.
So you feel so threatened, you are silenced.
Okay.
And you leave to fight another day.
So, for example, if the Linda Mwananchi team, for example, want to go to do another rally in another town where perhaps the leaders of that town are hostile in terms of whether they're going to welcome you or not, based on what happened in Homa Bay, will the Linda Mwananchi team say, you know what, we are scared that this might happen again, and so we will not go?
That's what was happening that particular day. And the Linda Mwananchi would have been scared and never got there. But the Linda Mwananchi team, they know that place very well. So they used other routes and other means to get to the venue. As you saw, the road was redo to stones, meaning nobody was going to move. And when goons throw stones on the road, they leave police to remove them. Now, the police who go and try to control the situation, they end up with a burned-down government vehicle and a police officer dead. I mean, that is excessive. And what happens after a police officer dies in this sort of situation? Compensation to the families is usually next to impossible. So it has so many twists and turns, the families give up and just sit there and wait, unless you have somebody who is so connected and helps you. So I want to say that in the Linda Mwananchi situation, they decided not to be cowed and used wits. But what this is, they're setting it up, is so dangerous. Are you telling Kaluma now that you will never go to Bungoma? Now look at it even worse. There is a day Wetangula went to attend a funeral of a member of parliament's mum in Kisumu. and then is prevented by goons from leaving. And it is such a chase up and down till he took off from a safer place. And while he was getting out, there were some injuries, and I think one death of these fellows who hung on your vehicle, and they refused to come out till you give them money. And even when you give them money, they refuse to come out. You drive at 100 kilometers per hour, they refuse to give up. So you have to stop and yield to all the demands. And I think now, can you imagine if the speaker, Wetangula, was killed in that place? Then are you telling me Oburu will go to... I'm looking at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Are you telling me now Oburu will attend that funeral and get out alive? So we must now know that this is terrible and it must stop. And I know Oburu doesn't like it. He doesn't like violence, but he's unable to control his members of his party. It is a high time now people said, look at that worst case scenario. And the violence can get into anything. It can get into anybody. It can get into the president. If it can get, to any leader. And can cause death to anybody. It is not just those innocent people. So I think it's a high time now the president and his government meant it and stopped it. What if he goes into a crowd which is violent, he himself, and his security are overpowered? What will he do? Because security can be overpowered.
It can.
There's nothing you can do to 10,000 people. No, whatever ammunition you have, there's nothing you can do to 10,000 people. So I think really everybody needs to sit back and stop the violence. And it is spreading everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
It is not just in Nyanza. I've seen that trend in Makueni. The UDA brigade is hedging towards using violence now to convince people in Makueni to support Ruto. And it doesn't go like that. You cannot support him by violence, by force.
Yeah.
Politics should be like marketing. You give your best to market a product, and you let the people decide whether they will buy or not buy. But when you have to force somebody to buy a product they don't like, then I think it is horrible. And to finish this, to stop this, leaders who are participated in crime should be prosecuted.
Somebody's going to have to bell the cat, and let's find out who that is. When we take this break, we'll be back. Because then we know what should be done, but it seems as though we are just abiding in the state of realism and rather idealism, and not being real about the situation, whereby it should not be the case. And if we had people who are abiding by the rule of law, then perhaps we would see something different. But then how do you curtail that, and how then do you insist? We'll continue. The senator is here with us this morning. We'll continue with our conversation after this.
This is the Situation Room. The Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Not now. First of all, if it were, very painful decisions have to be taken. And one of those decisions is prosecute Kaluma, prosecute Wanga. If those two get arraigned in court, I know it will not be locally because there will be so much violence. Supporters say don't do this. But it's a high time. Hard lessons were learned. If somebody like that was prosecuted, arrested, and charged with murder, and seriously prosecuted because there's overwhelming evidence, together with those major goons who were used to do these things, malicious damage to property. If those two went to court, then you will start changing the nation. But from the look of things, the government is not likely to prosecute them.
And is that why it's taking so much time? There seems to be the element of time is not really respected here. There's a gentleman who was killed for all intents and purposes. By the time he was being released from Mathaiga police station, he was dead. He was a walking corpse. A few hours after he was released, Eric Otieno died. And the details of what happened to him, by the way, has not been mentioned by anybody since then. It's been 2 weeks. Okay. The reason why Albert Ojwang's story came out really quickly is because of the fact that his father raised an alarm and said, "Excuse me, my son was arrested. We don't know where he is today." And then very quickly we heard that he had been killed and he died as a result of the torture that was meted upon him. We can go on and on.
Yeah,
the time factor. I mean, so many things.
Last week in Makueni, a young man was arrested over some, little things in a small town called Nungune.
Yes.
And when he got to the police, he kept on asking, "Why are you arresting me? I mean, you've arrested me another time and taken me to some remand prison and eventually released me with no charges, charges abandoned." And he was saying, "I'm not getting to this cell." The next day, he was dead.
George Macau.
Yes, and then they cooked. They say it is a story of, I went there. They said he hanged himself with his trouser. Nobody from his family. You see, somebody hangs themselves. The family will be called at least before he's released. In fact, even somebody hangs themselves in a house, nobody touches them till the police come. And so this one was turns and twists and was very upsetting. Now he's buried. And unless, serious following up is done, I don't see anybody be responsible.
So why does it take so much time?
And this is the third death in that police cell.
In that particular police cell? So this is
in the last 1 year or so.
Yeah. In that particular police station.
Some cops, some people, repeat
Why
story.
does it take so long? IPOA is yet to pronounce themselves on these happenings. The IG of police came out the other day and said any death that occurs in a police cell whereby there were police officers in the area, all of them, not one or two, all of them should be indicted. All. He said this. Now, we don't know whether it was for show or to show us though something was happening, but then that means that even the ones that happened in the past, we should be having some things being done about that. So I'm making the connection with time, that today is Wednesday, and today is the day that Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma has been summoned by the NCIC. But people died on Sunday. People were injured on Sunday. The violence happened on Sunday. If it were me or Dennis, we'd have been cooling our heels somewhere in a police station waiting for somebody to come and say guilty or not guilty. Why is there a selection of justice?
I must say there is double standard, and that's a very bad precedent being set by the current government. I will tell you why even the IG sometimes will find himself hopeless. If whoever is being suspected to have committed this crime comes from a certain tribe or is connected to certain powerful people, that trial will not go anywhere, not in this regime.
You're saying it like it's normal, Senator.
Yes.
It's unacceptable.
Yes, it is very unacceptable. Unfortunately, our country has lost it in a big way in terms of the rule of law, in terms of weakening of government institutions. One time a cabinet members of parliament who were attacked somewhere in Central by police and their vehicles shot. We took them there, we wrote statements, we gave all the evidence. IPOA has done nothing up to date. Those police officers are known. They have not been prosecuted. You saw now when there was a murder and the young man who got into trouble said, "No, I'm not I only, gave a ride to a police officer who did this, a senior police officer." I mean, one disappeared, one got arrested, and I hope the other one will be arrested and they'll be prosecuted. But within a year, maybe they will be free, and that story will be forgotten. So we are saying that first and foremost, the president must strengthen government institutions, allow DCI to do its job, allow police to do their job, allow courts to do their job, give courts sufficient evidence, allow ESCC to do its job, allow the DPP to do its job. And that's why if Kenyans have to change from this situation, because I don't see it improving. I mean, Kaluma and Wanga have committed murder. Why is he going to NCIC?
That's a serious thing you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, this is murder. There is overwhelming evidence to sustain a charge of murder. There was planning, there was execution, people have died.
And can you link it directly to their action? Because what you're saying is quite
serious. The link
serious.
will be the financing.
How do you know that the financing came from
through
them?
the M-Pesas and through these young people. I'm telling you, if you arrest these young people, they are going to give evidence, not under pressure. If they want, I mean, if there's goodwill, you can prosecute Kaluma. But if you look at the goodwill, I don't think so.
Senator, I often ask
People's
myself...
children, the least you can get out of this is manslaughter.
Senator, I always ask myself the simple question where, as we go around the country campaigning, is because we want to be in position of leadership. The people you intend to lead are these Kenyans. When you sponsor violence against these very Kenyans, like now we're talking about 5 people have died in Homa Bay County, including a police officer who's died. You talk about all these other deaths that we are now recording across the country. Who do you want to lead if the modus operandi is people are dying, people are maimed, people are hurting? Does it ever dawn on people that I want these people alive and healthy for them to help me push this country forward?
First of all, every politician, other than quite a number who lie, want a better country for themselves. And when they go to the people, they want to promise a better country, roads, water, electricity. You saw the roads in Homa Bay. so now, you and politicians keep on lying to voters, and the voters bring them, and they do nothing. And once they get power, they use the power against the voter. I want to say that it would be very unfortunate if the deaths in Homa Bay go unaddressed. Somebody woke up that morning thinking by evening they will still be alive and better. But by evening there was mourning. And soon there are going to be funerals, which probably the county government or the national government will chip in. But after that, the culprits will never be brought to book, because that is becoming like the new culture. It's becoming like normal. It's becoming like we can fight, kill people, and nobody is responsible. It is as if the constitution and the law in the country has been suspended. So I'm just saying, if the government were to be serious, charge Karuma. Let Karuma appear in a court of law. Charge him.
The sentiment from, I mean, you can't take away, especially in this day and age that we operate in, that the court of public opinion has pronounced itself on certain things, and that it would appear as though, I mean, it's unbelievable that we say it, but how do you deal with an issue whereby if you're on the right side of the politics and in terms of government, that the likelihood of you being interrogated, investigated, questioned and or prosecuted about certain things then dims significantly because of the side you have chosen? How do we operate in
I want to give you an example of Babu Wino, who out of, some accident shot and injured somebody. He didn't need to deny, get investigated. He took it and brought reconciliation, which our law allows, and took responsibility. I believe this is the same thing Kaluma and Wanga should do. First admit, and then heal the situation. Because even the idea of prosecution is that you want the family which is offended or has been hurt to feel that something has happened. And if you have to reconcile the country and to reconcile these debts, this is something you must do. It is very unprecedented over a long time, but we have seen in this regime so many people lose their lives. I mean, the Gen Z's protests, then the government led. I mean, there was no need. I have been in protests during the time of Raila Odinga. And I can assure you the first protest which was during Uhru's time in 2017, when we announced and we started at Serena, just outside there, Serena. So the first response to a very peaceful crowd was a gunfire. So the moment you shoot a bullet, honestly, you are going to annoy the crowd, and it's going to be chaotic. And that's what happened that day, and quite a number of people were dead and injured. And I thought, to me, it was totally unnecessary. If you leave people on their own and just make sure that police plays a role of guarding property, there will be no such thing, because people can demonstrate, and people have demonstrated peacefully in this country. But when they are provoked, they turn chaotic, because you're also misusing the law. You begin by breaking the law yourself as a police officer or the person who is manning. So we want a peaceful country, because anybody's child or anybody's life is important, just as your life is. And you maybe enjoy state protection today, but it will not be there tomorrow.
What do you make of agencies that ought to have moved in to help deal with this issue? Talk about NCIC, talk about the police, DCI. What do you make of their silence to this time?
They are scared of the political power and the convenience. They are not. I'm sure some report will be prepared quietly, but I think the president should be bold enough on this and stop it. With the people accused of entertaining this is the PS Interior and the CS Interior. And those two represent the president. The moment he's not firing them, it means that he's agree with them. And it means the president is very comfortable with the violence which happened in these places, and he's very happy for somebody who has challenged him, like Sifuna. You see, the president started issuing threats to Sifuna that will discipline you in ODM, that will deal with you, and then Sifuna grew, and I believe if Baba was alive, Sifuna will still be doing the same thing as he's doing today. That was the script Baba had with Sifuna. I believe it will be the same thing. I believe the broad-based will be there, but Raila Odinga will be doing exactly what Sifuna is doing to correct the situation in the country, because it has not gone with exactly what. And then I'm sure 2027 then Baba will run, and then the political situation will be the same. I know people who pretend that Baba left them in government. He had made himself clear when he came to Maanzo and said, come on, who said 2 term? We are going to be running. And I'm aware also what his people did. They went and they abandoned him and went straight to Ruto before Baba gave the final approval. So these political things should call for tolerance. And the president should accept. If I lose the election, I am a Kenyan. I continue to live here and to do business and continue with my politics, hoping to get elected another day. And I think that should be the attitude of all politicians. But unfortunately, they want to use whatever machinery they have, the government finances, to bring back the government by force. But I want to tell them the people are more powerful than the government because they own it. The people are the sovereign power. The people need now to prepare themselves to bring change, which they need. The young people, the 4 million or so young people who have IDs, they were in the demonstrations in 2024. They have refused to register as voters. In fact, we should now organize a maandamano to go to register and consistently andamana till the 4 million or so are registered. The IBC is still registering, and it's going to have one more big, registration for everybody, for every police station. But Kenyans are Kenyans. They always show up the last day. For 30 good days, nobody will show up. But the last day, the queue will be over 1,000 plus. So one way is through the vote. And you have heard IBC say, we cannot run an election in a chaotic situation. I want to agree. I mean, how do you run an election when there is chaos everywhere and no one is in the queue, no one is, there must be peaceful election. And the president should not just talk. He must make sure that elections are peaceful and Kenyans are allowed to choose whether they bring him back or they send him home.
What does it take to have a leader who keeps the rule of law as the point in terms of a true north? And that, again, it shouldn't matter whether you want to come back or not. What does it mean, or what does it look like to have somebody who follows the rule of law as the compass?
You know, anybody who saw 2007, it was spontaneous to a large extent, although some people allegedly planned. But now, 2027 is be planned 20 years later, is carefully be planned and be executed. And I think the international community should really take charge and document this. It doesn't matter how long it takes. In Kenya, you can only serve for 2 terms unless we amend our constitution. And I've had some leaders proposing that we amend our constitution and delete the 2 terms and allow the people to make a choice for as long as they want, just like some governments in the region. But I think that should not be the case. What the people in power today should know, what Kaluma and company and associates should know is that this will be over one day. And the criminal liability is lifelong. So one day, somebody will face the law. One day, somebody will face the Hague. Even if they destroy all the evidence, even if they kill the witnesses, one day, justice will happen. And therefore, it's not proper to, to protect. You can't protect your family forever.
Yeah.
And then kill other people's children. There will come a day, you need to walk freely in the country. You need to feel free even after elections are gone. Your children need to walk free into Nyamakima and back. You should not stay scared or have to run out of the country because you can't face the people.
Yeah.
We should be able to look into it. And I believe Kenya is so determined to redeem itself from this. Kenyans don't like this at all. And they are going to redeem themselves. And the people who did this will face the law someday.
Kenyans are key stakeholders in the politics of the day because they're the ones as well who go to cast the vote. And while at that then, clarion call is for Kenyans not to allow to be used as much as well poverty has been weaponized, that I will come pay you because I've impoverished you, and you go beat up your neighbor. Because at the end of the day, it is in the same community that people have died, that you have disenfranchised, that you will also go back even as a leader if you're not elected back to power.
Even other than this, you see in totality, and if you go to the village like I do, things have never been hard as they are currently. We are receiving, information from Kenyans every police brutality, demonstration chaos. Now nurses are on strike. Nobody's addressing that situation of nurses on strike. The government is merely glossing over that and dealing with other things, the volunteers, other than the nurses who are working. Any injuries like the ones in Homa Bay and nurses are on strike will help you. When there's a road accident like one which happened in Makwene County the other day, we're very grateful the nurses came out, even though they were in strike, to deal with this emergency situation. But for how long are the nurses going to be on strike? For how long is the university fee pay program going to stay and sorted out? Because people need solutions now. If you say you are going to bring a law to Parliament, this House will adjourn before that law is done. So it's just talk, and nothing, while the common Kenyans are really, really suffering. The common Kenyan parent cannot feed a family, cannot take children to school, has to expect adults from politicians. People have given up, to work hard. There's overtaxation. The pay slips have been robbed thoroughly, and just like the security men will say, we have gone to State House to get back what the president has been cutting from our salaries. Now that we don't even have hope of ever getting these houses. So who are you building these houses for? If you kill people, who are you doing the roads for? If the people you are supposed to be doing roads for are dead. So I think the respect for life should come first. And for President Ruto, you don't have to bribe voters or give money or call churches to State House. If you call one church, then when are you going to call AIC? When are you going to call Catholic? When are you going to call Redeemed? You can't go that way. So the best thing is just to do the right thing to people. If they want to elect you, they will elect you back. If they don't want, please accept. And deal now with the crimes you committed while you are in power. And that's what a lot of people in power are scared of. That's why you are seeing this violence. Because they are saying, once you lose this government, what will we do? And we have been committing crimes. We have been stealing from the government coffers. The evidence is overwhelming. These are the issues.
Do you see, from where you sit, that the will of the people is strong enough in terms of a resolve? I'm not saying to remove somebody from power or to bring somebody in. I'm saying to ensure that the Constitution is actually practiced. Is the will of the people sufficient?
I think I've moved around the country. Yesterday I was in Nyeri and I was surprised by the feeling of the people. The other day you are in Mombasa, you will see, what is happening in these places. And the common Kenyan is so determined to bring change. But there is only one way you can bring that change. Ensure that you register as a voter and you make a decision at the ballot. That will really change the country. And I think every Kenyan above 18 years of age and with an ID should register and participate in the election. I don't think the election will be stolen as threatened because clerk number 1 to clerk number 6 are young people. And so long as you have engines in every single police station who are not being threatened, then the truth will happen in that police station. And before 11 o'clock on the day of polling, Kenyans will know who their new president is. The country needs change yesterday.
He's a senator for the Republic of Kenya representing the people of Makueni County. Dan Maanzo has been here with us this morning. There's a lot to remember. One, he says, we take that thing that you're feeling and put it to a vote and you actually see some change. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Our hope is that where there has been breaking of the law, that there will be payment for that. Thank you so much. Good morning, 9 a.m.
This is The Situation